Hello, and thanks for watching Focus, a show that focuses on community, unity, and service, featuring local nonprofits and community heroes. I'm Chris Giard. Our next featured nonprofit is Work Vessels for Vets, a national charitable organization based in Connecticut who are equipping veterans for small business success. My guest is Kathy Cook, the Executive Director for Work Vessels for Vets. Kathy, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having us. We're excited to spread the word.
So I just recently learned about your organization, and I know you're based out of Connecticut, but you're national. Why don't you give our audience a little background about the organization, how it came to fruition?
Well, Work Vessels for Vets is a 501c3 nonprofit. We're 13 years old. In our 13th year now. And since 2008, when a no-ank lobsterman gave his commercial lobster boat to an amputee Marine in Rhode Island for his clamming business, we have equipped, you ready? 2,400 injured veterans in all 50 states with about $3.4 million worth of equipment for them to start a new business after their injury in war. It's pretty remarkable. We're all volunteers. Our overhead is between 1% and 2%, depending on which year we have to pay for an audit. So it's really the most fun I've ever had. I joined them a couple of years after their founding when I heard about them, and I retired as a state senator in Connecticut, and then I worked for 4 years under Governor Rell as her executive assistant for Veterans Affairs, helping the Gold Star families who've lost someone or just connecting veterans. So I had a pretty nice Rolodex of others of my peers all across the country. So I took them from a little nonprofit that gave about one boat a year away, and that was all they really thought they could do. And we went national and got some nice funding sources from organizations and have achieved that remarkable result of 2,400 injured veterans starting a business after their injuries.
So let's talk a little bit more about these vessels. I know obviously it started off with a boat, but there's so many different machines that have been given out to do all sorts of different types of work. Why don't you talk a little bit about some of the different vessels you guys have supported?
Well, early on, there was quite a big hoopla about giving away the lobster boat. And Senator Lieberman came, and along with him came a lot of national press, and it aired on CNN and lots of other major outlets. And we started to get phone calls from a farmer in Kansas who said, "I'm retiring my farm. I've got a nice tractor. Can you take it? But can you find a vet who would need it?" Or, somebody with a van that says, it's great for hauling packages. Do you have someone who might need that? And we came to the conclusion pretty quickly that a vessel could be anything that gets you from place to place. And we adapted the idea of one boat a year to whatever young veteran, a veteran who's received some injuries needs to get a business started. And we've given away tractors and trucks and vans and trailers and barns and goats and blueberry bushes and, thousands of laptops and lots of computer equipment and drones for veterans who are doing real estate survey by drones and different businesses like that. I mean, honestly, it can be just about anything that is in the business plan that looks like it's going to help them get started.
So let's talk about the process. When a disabled vet comes up with this business plan, how do they go about submitting, and how many do you go through a year?
We average 200 to 300 veterans are served in a year. Depends on our funding, of course, and the donations of equipment that come in or the matches that we can make. Mm-hmm. But they apply to us through the network of either their vet center or the VA system or fellow veterans and peers now, because we've got so many that are talking to each other. And we match them with a mentor. We have a sort of a cadre of volunteer business mentors. Many of them are former military themselves, all across the country. And they go through with the veteran on a one-on-one basis just what is it you're going to do? Is it a viable business plan? We don't equip, subsistence family farms where they're not selling anything.
Right.
We only equip veteran business plans that are going to be eventually profitable, we hope.
And out of all the vets you have supported over the years, I mean, I can only imagine that it also has created other jobs too. Maybe not all the time, but how does that work in giving back to their own community as well?
Well, we give them the equipment, and all we ask is that they pay it forward by helping their fellow veterans and their communities. I'll give you an example of one guy that's just done a remarkable job, and this was early on in Work Vessels for Vets. He was an injured Army sergeant in St. Louis, and he wanted to start a green commercial cleaning business where he would clean businesses but using HEPA filters and all of that. And this is way back before COVID, all of that. And so we gave him some vacuum machines and commercial cleaning, carpet cleaning machines, that kind of thing. He has now built that business up where he has hired 75 veterans and veteran families. Wow. He has commercial operations and contracts in 3 states. He was the St. Louis Veteran Business of the Year a few years ago. And his gross is now into the $2 million mark.
Great.
He is just doing fantastic. And he readily admits he couldn't have done it without the van that we gave him to transport his crews and the equipment that helped him get started. Not a huge investment on our part, maybe $6,000 to $10,000 over a couple of years. Mm-hmm. But now look at the jobs he's created, the money he's put back into the economy, how he's helped fellow veterans. And he's not the only kind of success story. So they're not all that big a success, but they all are grateful. They need that one critical piece of equipment to get going, whether it's a tractor or, a gal in San Antonio who's an amputee, and she was really severely injured. Mm. She rehabbed her hands and her brain by doing jewelry making.
Okay.
And we gave her a special welder to weld fine metals like gold and silver and that sort of thing to make her jewelry. Gary Sinise built her house in San Antonio, and I went out to that. And her jewelry is so unique and successful that Lux Bond and Green, I think some of your viewers will know them from Connecticut and Massachusetts, carries her line of jewelry in their stores.
That's amazing.
And it's amazing. But she's really come a long way, and we can help veterans with lots of unique things like that.
So let's talk about maybe a success story or two here in our own state. And I know Cox, we reach about 19 different towns. What's something that's more recent that's been done here in Connecticut? We could tell you.
On Armed Forces Day, May 15th, we gave a 89 horsepower tractor, which is in tractor terms, pretty big tractor.
Yeah.
To a Army enlisted vet who started a farm in Sterling and Canterbury, Connecticut, so way over on the border near Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. And he has an 89-acre farm, and he is raising and saving what they call heritage breed animals. So these are unique breeds that have, not been commercialized. So mm-hmm. He's got like the Scottish Highland cows and cattle with the great big horns and the long red coats on them. He has Lancashire Devon cattle, and I think he has about 6 or 8 calves this year. And he sells the meat, which is highly desirable, to the high-end farm-to-table restaurants from Avon all the way to Rhode Island.
Wow!
And he also has he has mulefoot pigs, which are black pigs that are a historic breed. Mm-hmm. And so he does that. And actually, that was a great success story in Connecticut. And we partnered with some of the VFWs who had some money to put toward it with us. So we often partner with others to get enough money to buy what we need to buy.
Let's talk a little bit about fundraising. I know in order to do the great work that your organization does, you have to have that funding or donation. How does that go about? How do you go getting funding, as well as if there is a business that's seeing this for the first time, they might have some vessel that they could donate. What's the best way to get in contact in that process?
Well, we certainly are, because of our nonprofit status, we can accept certain kinds of equipment. We don't accept everything. And a lot of people call, I got a car that's old, do you want it? Well, only if it meets the need of a specific vet. We're not in the business of auctioning off cars
Right.
for money or boats or whatever. So we refer them to the places that do that. But Pfizer Corporation gives us laptops when they recycle. Aetna has done that in the past. Surtech, which is a company up near where you're from in Windsor, they gave us, it's a surgical supply company, and they gave us laptops last year. We have a refurbisher here in Mystic who upgrades the laptops, and we send them out mostly to vets finishing their schooling or their trade certificates or whatever, and help them get down their way to business. So we receive those kinds of donations, but I'm cheeky. I'll call somebody, I say, look, I got a vet who lost both legs. Okay. He's a farmer. He needs a tractor. What are you going to do for me, John Deere? What are you going to do for me, Kubota? What are you going to do for me, Coyote? And I'll call them and I'll say, look, this is a good, let's help him out here. Or do you have the used equipment? The best story I have about that kind of stuff is an amputee vet down in Florida who overcame a lot of his PTSD by going to a quilting class with his wife. He found that it calmed the precision of quilting calmed his PTSD down. These guys come up with all kinds of unique solutions to that. And he decided he wanted to be a quilt finisher, which is to take somebody else's quilt top, put the middle and the bottom together and stitch it together with a pattern of stitches, right? That's the short version. Well, they're $40,000 pieces of equipment.
Really?
Yeah. So I called up the Cadillac of these things that make them and turned out they were in St. Louis. And but I researched ahead of time. The vice president was an Army wife whose husband was deployed. So I called her, not the president. I called the vice president. And I said, what can you do? I said, we've raised about $8,000, but if you got a used one or a demonstrator or something. She said, I'll call you back tomorrow. I sent her the stuff about the vet. The next day they said, we're going to give you the $40,000 piece of equipment outright. You give us the $8,000 that you raised for that purpose. Great. They sent out a truck with the equipment on it from St. Louis and about 10 members of their company to Florida, set it up in his house, and he has gone gangbusters with his business, which is called 1 Foot Quilting. And he's doing beautifully. That's part of our magic, is that we are a nonprofit. We can give a tax deduction for a company that gives us equipment, and we can certainly provide publicity for that. And I just think it's a formula that is unique and works. I have found no other charity that's solely dedicated to giving equipment to injured veterans for their business.
That's an amazing story. Can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges your organization faced during the pandemic? Were you unable to do the full amount reaching out and getting these vessels to the vets?
Well, the pandemic was a big challenge for all nonprofits, and we understand that. It certainly caused a lot of our cash funders, our grant donations that we get, to redirect their missions to help with hunger and food and other things for people during the pandemic. So we did see a significant drop in the kinds of grants that we used to receive. On the other hand, when I put out a plea to our donor base and I said, look, I need some emergency money because I've got vets whose businesses we just started and they're in trouble. Right. And they need to either adapt it to the virtual, like we had a girl who taught CPR classes with virtual reality things, but she had to adapt that to an online thing. So right. She needed some equipment for that. We had other vets who just out and out needed a $500 check from us before anybody gave them anything. We were able to give them some money so they wouldn't be hungry themselves. Yeah. So my donors responded in 4 days. We raised 5 figures of donations and immediately were able to help a lot of vets with that. But, and of course, our fundraising that we do or that other organizations do for us all stopped. I mean, everything went, we canceled so many different events. It was very, very hard. And so we have not been able to do as much last year, and even into this year, we've had to limit what we can do. The more equipment gets donated to us, the easier we can do. But cash buying of things has been really hard.
So obviously, I know the event here in May, when we're recording this, you have a Memorial Day weekend, Make Memorial Day Memorable virtual walk. Speaking of events,
Yeah.
But do you have something else coming up in September too? I remember you telling me
Yeah,
about.
well, we pushed off most of our in-person fundraising planning to the fall, hoping and of course now coming true that things will open up enough. So we have several events in September, but on September 11th, which is a day everybody will remember, an organization, another nonprofit called Skydive for Veterans is doing an event to benefit our organization. And people who want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane can raise $500, however they want to do it with pledges or whatever, and they can jump all day from Ellington, Connecticut, from the grassy field that's there with the skydive expert there, and it's attracted in past years 40 to 50. With this year, we think we'll probably be nearer 100 skydivers.
Wow.
So great fun. Skydive for Vets, September 11th, and you can find out about it on our website, workvesselsforvets.org.
So I was just going to ask you, that's the best way for people to get in touch with you is your website? Is there any social media handles as well, or?
Oh yes, we have. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/workvesselsforvets, and we're also on Instagram with a lot of stories of some of our vets participating in the Instagram stories. And our handle there is Work Vessels with the number 4 vets. The Work Vessels for Vets, but the 4 is a number on Instagram.
Great.
So it's good. With a lot going on. Great fun.
Absolutely. Well, Kathy Cook, the Executive Director for Work Vessels for Vets, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you so much for the great work that your organization does for the veterans that have served our country. We truly appreciate it.
America needs to remember they're still out there. And now that they've rehabbed from whatever injuries they've had, they want to start a business so they can cope with the bad days they sometimes have. And it's our job to help them get that one piece of equipment they need.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Chris.